Story 1. I worked with a guy in construction who was always very gregarious and loud at work. We did a job out of town and were sharing rented living quarters. When I got up at 5:30 to make breakfast, I would find him already in the kitchen drinking white rum straight out of the bottle. He would be drinking as if he had found a water bottle after 3 days in the desert. I felt like that was a sign. Story 2. I never went to work drunk and never drank at work. But I knew how much time it would take me to drink a 12-pack every night and still get a decent amount of sleep. On my days off, though, if my eyes were open, then I was drinking. I still paid my bills and kept my house clean. I was definitely functioning. Story 3. Your hobby is drinking. You are either at work or drinking. Alcohol is how you spend your free time. Or, if you have a family, you're working, doing only the required parenting or drinking. You plan outings, events, your schedule, and so on, around when you can get home and drink. My dad was a functioning alcoholic. He was a hard worker. He provided for us, we never wanted for anything. And he was there when we needed him, but only when we absolutely needed him. If it was an event or something he didn't have to go to, he didn't go, even if we would have liked for him to. If our mom could handle whatever it was we wanted, he let her. I loved him very much. And he loved me to the moon and back. I know that in my soul. But he was a functioning alcoholic who always had one foot in the house with us, and one foot in the garage with his beer. In his mind, this was a step up from how he was raised, and I understand that more as I get older. Story 4. Today I learned I was a functioning alcoholic for the past year. I would go to work, pay bills, and be a responsible adult in all things, but after work and on days off, I would drink. I would quickly consume 4 rum and cokes after work to get a buzz that would last until bedtime. On days off, I would start around 2 p.m. and pass out around 10 p.m. I think my anxiety finally worked in my favor, and I convinced myself I was going to die if I did not stop drinking. I have been alcohol-free for 43 days so far, and the urges are getting fewer now. I want to thank everyone for their kind words and support. I love you all. Today, I learned that there are also addiction gatekeepers. To you guys, I wish you all the best. Addiction is addiction, and going through a 1.75-liter bottle of Admiral Nelson's every few days, like me, is as much of an addiction as going through one every 2 days or one a week. Help a person up instead of holding them down. Story 5. Years ago, I worked in a grocery store, and at one point, I was assigned to condition shelves. This meant lining up products so the shelves looked fuller, disposing of empty cardboard flats, picking up products customers abandoned, and so on. I kept finding empty vodka shooters on the shelves. I mentioned it to the night crew foreman, and he said, "Oh yeah, one of my guys is a drunk, but he busts his ass here every night, so I don't say anything." Story 6. As a functioning alcoholic, I go to work every day and don't drink on the job. However, when I'm off work, I'm drinking. Drinking is my hobby and the way I spend my free time. Story 7. Had a great friend, my roommate for some years, a functioning alcoholic. Never missed work. I left the apartment to celebrate Mother's Day with my family. He was supposed to do the same. He went to the bar on his way to his parents' house and ended up staying there all day. Skipped out. He died at 56. Story 8. Spending a lot of time at home, disappearing randomly at outings and then showing back up, avoiding close contact with people, avoiding hugs, hugging with their head way off to the side, a red, puffy face, using the bathroom, at least at home. For a ridiculously long time, only running their errands when their spouse or roommate leaves the house, finding hidden alcohol consumed or not, always having a specific type of soda or drink as a chaser around, overly confident being the driver. After a night out drinking with others, avoiding the topic of alcohol, not remembering things that you've discussed a million times, being sweaty all the time, getting irritable and ready to go home if they have to be stuck somewhere for longer than an hour, being jumpy and irritable in the mornings until they have their first drink, absolutely refusing to go on any sort of long-distance trip without a designated drinking place established. I know these things because they were all me. I drank on the job too. I was considered a highly functioning alcoholic for how much I drank. 9 years of about 30 to 40 drinks per day. I decided to go to rehab about 3 months ago. Tomorrow is my 100th day of sobriety. If anyone struggles with alcohol or think they may have a problem, My direct messages are open. One day at a time, friends. Story 9. Well, for me, I needed to have a drink every morning or I would be sick. Drinking alone often is another indicator. I was drunk for the vast majority of my undergraduate years. I remember at one point everyone was lined up to go to a career fair, all dressed up, and I went walking past everyone after having walked a few miles in my pajamas to get some more alcohol. I also had constant tremors all the time, even when I had a few drinks. It took about 6 months to a year of not drinking for the tremors to stop. From college into my mid-20s, I couldn't hold my hands straight. An alcoholic will try to justify their drinking, always saying it's not that much or downplaying the amount. My friends thought I was going to die early from drinking too much. In a few months, I will be 6 years sober, and I'm much better for it. Story 10. Hey OP, 48-year-old married father of 2 in the United Kingdom here. I gave up drinking last year because it was one way or the other going to kill me. The reason I drank, the core unchangeable reason, was to change my mood and emotions, to try and feel better. You can probably imagine how well that worked. If a person is using alcohol to manage their emotions, then that, to me, is a sign of dependency. How another person determines that is hard to define, however. Since I gave up alcohol and have used only therapy and medication to manage my negative emotions, it feels like I'm playing life on easy mode. Shout out to Stop Drinking. Story 11. There's a functional alcoholism specific to the Army in the United States in my experience, and I was no stranger to it when I drank regularly. At the height of it, I would have either 4 doubles a night on ice, 2 tall bottles of high-impact beer, or half a bottle of wine between 5 to 10 p.m. I told myself all of the Army lies. I don't have a problem because I don't need to drink, I want to drink. I don't have a problem because I don't drink when I'm deployed. I don't have a problem because I don't come to work drunk. I don't have a problem because this wine or beer goes really well with my dinner. I don't have a problem because I still work out twice a day most days. I don't have a problem because I run 4 to 6 miles most days. I don't have a problem because I drink slowly, over the course of 5 hours. I don't have a problem because most of my peers do this. This really wasn't uncommon for my generation of soldiers. The behavioral health stigma was slowly lifted near the end of my career, but most of us operated on the self-medication wavelength, doing incredible chemical violence to our bodies to cope with anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and general heartache. Get up early for physical training, slam some coffee and nicotine, spend the day using more caffeine and nicotine, go home, start drinking around dinner because you don't have a problem if you're doing it on your off time, pass out drunk, rinse and repeat. A lot of us would spend our weekends doing physically intense activities like hiking, fun runs, etc., and then spend the late afternoon and evening getting slowly intoxicated. My favorite anecdote for all of this is actually something Tom Waits said: "You don't become a star for the lifestyle is waiting there when you show up." The lifestyle was definitely waiting for us. It was cultural. Anyway, after my divorce, another standard for many career soldiers, I decided to do the opposite of what seemed normal and I quit drinking altogether for a long time. I've had a few drinks and beers since then, but becoming someone who drinks rarely rather than regularly has been very rewarding on all levels. Also, therapy is great. If you can manage, go. Story 12. Vodka is often the final choice for an alcoholic. It is, by volume, the least expensive way to stay inebriated. It's clear, so you can put it in water bottles. It has a smell similar to hand sanitizer, allowing you to act like a germaphobe and apply it constantly. A spritz of cologne and long-lasting breath mints help, but you need to be careful of sweating it out of your pores. Even between showers, you must take care to wash your face and arms. There comes a time when you can pass a field sobriety test, but not a breathalyzer test. Story 13. I work in substance abuse, and there are some good ones, but there are some definitely missing. The alcoholic bathroom smell. I cannot describe it, but alcoholics always have diarrhea, and the smell they leave behind in the bathroom is unique. Grew up with it and have smelled it a couple of times since. Leathery skin. More advanced alcoholics, functioning and not, have skin that looks very leathery, especially on their legs and arms. I would almost describe it as pickled. The beer gut does not just come from beer. There are very few things or conditions that cause a distended stomach like alcohol. Beer gut almost always equals alcoholic when paired with thin arms and legs. They will always leave on time. A functioning alcoholic has a schedule to keep, and don't interfere with it. Work done at 5? So are they. They've got plans they can't miss. Detoxing from alcohol can be very dangerous to do on your own. Please seek medical attention if you decide to stop drinking so you don't seize or die. I always say only 2 detoxes will kill you: alcohol and benzodiazepines. The rest will just make you wish you were dead. Story 14. My dad is a working alcoholic. All my 53 years of living, Dad is 76. He makes excuses for his drinking. My late mom was an alcoholic also. She passed away in 2018 from a damaged liver. Story 15. We'll have an excuse not to visit or take calls after a certain hour. It will be a similar time. Stomach or digestion issues or frequent illness. Overeating or undereating. Too many excuses for seemingly innocent behavior. Sudden bursts of communication punctuated by long periods of inactivity. Story 16. I'm a functioning alcoholic, and so is my entire family. I will jump at any chance to go for a drink, especially if it's free. At after-work drinks, I'll drink wine like it's water. Other than the actual drinking, mood swings are a giveaway. Story 17. Being a really good liar. Being a functional alcoholic requires an ability to lie and manipulate others into thinking you're okay and you have everything under control. I had a friend who was so clearly an alcoholic, but somehow he made everyone believe he had it under control despite his concerning behaviors. We never had a serious conversation about getting him help. On the outside, he had a pretty good life, very well liked socially, always with friends. He ended up taking his life, though. To this day, no one knows why. They found him with double the amount of the lethal blood alcohol content. My therapist told me it was likely the alcoholism, maybe the guilt of all the lies not being able to stop. I don't know. Story 18. I went to the doctor a few months ago, and he asked me how much I drink. I told him somewhere around 4 or 5 drinks, and he looked at me in disbelief. You mean a day? And I just thought to myself, it's a good thing I didn't tell him how much I really drink. Story 19. You need to consume alcohol to have a good time at family functions or any function, or any other day really. Also, you try to hide how much you drink and when you injure yourself or damage property. All of this is my mom. Story 20. I lived with a functional alcoholic, my ex, for 10 years. He was great at his job, had lots of friends, and seemed healthy and successful. But his life revolved around drinking. Socializing always took place at a bar, a party, or somewhere alcohol was available. Weeknights often started with a stop at a bar on the way home from work. We lived in a lively urban neighborhood with good public transportation, so at least there was no drunk driving involved. Then, a visit to his regular bar or drinks at home. Weekends were all about day drinking opportunities, brunch, watching sports, tabletop games, etc. That eventually lost whatever structure they'd started with and turned into straight-up drinking until bedtime. We met in our 20s when most of our social circle drank fairly heavily, and it was all pretty carefree for a few years. Drinking was fun. Everyone we knew did it, and we knew plenty of folks who drank more or did cocaine or indulged in some other vice far more scandalous than alcohol. Plus, there was always a good excuse. Had a good day? Let's have a drink. Had a bad day? I need a drink. Sports team did well? Drink. Hey, did you know today is Danish Independence Day? Cheers. It was a kind of game to normalize drinking in situations where alcohol isn't usually consumed. There were breakfast beers, weekends and holidays only, and shower beers, road brews for car passengers, and bus beverages for the environmentally conscious commuter. Eventually, many of us, myself included, started to slow down, but he kept going. I don't think he ever went a day without a drink. His standard bar order went from a beer to a beer and a shot, then a beer and a shot plus a bonus shot while he was getting drinks at the bar. Friends who stayed over reported seeing him first thing in the morning with a mug full of wine that he tried to pass off as coffee. I went through a cocktail phase and tried to set up a bar cart, but gave up because any liquor in the house would be gone within a few days or less. We would be gifted nice bottles of booze because, hey, we clearly enjoyed a drink, and I'd never even get a chance to taste them. He was usually cheerful and gregarious with other people, But with me, he was moody as hell until he got a few drinks in, to the point where I looked forward to that first can or bottle being opened because it meant the grouchy person would go away and the funny, friendly person would be back. Our sex life was not good. It got worse over time, to the point where he was getting injured in drinking-related incidents but still showing up for work every day and earning excellent performance reviews. The turning point for me was a night when friends carried him home. By this point, he was going to the bar most evenings without me. He was incoherent, unable to stand on his own, and his face and shirt were covered in blood. No one was sure exactly what happened, but folks figured he tripped on a stair and hit his head when he fell. He didn't remember anything the next day. He tried to stop drinking after that, but it didn't last. We split up. His new partner is a bartender, and that sounded like trouble, but he's reportedly been sober for a few years now. Thankfully,